Hi YouTube, Engine Board 100. Well, last weekend we did a brake job on the rears of the 2020 X3M competition. Well, this weekend it's time for the big boys. We're gonna do the fronts. Well, I guess you know what that means. Brakes are worn down. Time to install some new pads. Those massive front calipers look awesome. These rims are filthy. So let's get this car jacked up, get everything cleaned up, and get this brake job done. Similar to the discs on the rear, these fronts are a little grooved. So the first thing we're gonna do is take them off, get them to the shop, and have them turned down. Up she goes, and wheels off. Voila! First we remove, then we clean. Man, these huge blue calipers look great no matter what. But I gotta say, they look so much better when they're clean. Alright, let's pop them off. Get those rotors taken in for turning and change those pads. Let's see how worn these pads are. Yeah, they're down there. Ready for change. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is take off the calipers. And just like the rears, the fronts are mounted with two massive E16 Torx bolts. Alright, so here's a quick shot of the back of the caliper. These are the two E16 Torx bolts that have to be removed, one at the top, one at the bottom, to remove the caliper. So we'll get those off, hang the caliper with the bungee, and then we'll remove the disc. Alright, I got the two E16 bolts out. Let's see if I can pry that pad off the disc a little and remove that rotor so I can hang it by the bungee. Now we'll have to take the pins out of the back. There's some pins in the back here that have to come out. I'll show you a close-up. Now we'll remove the two 6mm hex bolts that hold on the disc using my Koken manual impact driver. Now, it's off to have them turned. Look at these rotors. They are ready.
I do.
They look good. You not gonna let me have the other one?
Yeah, I got you. No,
where's the other one? Bring him out. Oh man, they want to see it.
How much? Off an X3M?
Yeah. It's a, what do you call them? Crossover.
Yeah. I know what car you're talking about.
Yeah.
I get ya.
Come on, man. Pull it out. What's the holdup? They want to see. There it is.
Yes, sir.
Look at that. Those are pretty.
Yes, sir.
Nice. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just like last time, we're going to go with the Carbo Tax. These are supposedly the awesome brakes that we need for the type of driving we do. They have a very long lifespan, and low dust. Let's take a quick look at these Carbotech brake pads. They come well packed and they look great. Wow, look at that. Nice and thick. Yeah, these are going to work out just fine. So I'll do a follow-up review of these after you've driven it for a while. But for now, let's get these tools to work and get this brake job done. Alright guys, we got the disc back from being turned. Now, we're going to go ahead and put some brake quiet on the back of the new brake pads and let that kind of gel and cure while I remove the old brake pads. Pull the pins and remove the old brake pads. I'm going to use my little Ken and Barbie rake here to spread the brake quiet. No one laugh about my Ken and Barbie little rake. It works great, easy to clean, spreads nice and even. So here we go. You want to put a little bit of brake quiet on here so your brakes don't squeal. And I love the little spaces in the rake. Look at that. It just does a perfect job of spreading out the brake quiet. So here we go. I just put it on and my little brake just goes to town. And it's real easy to clean because there's a lot of space in between the little rakes. So it's not like the brush. Sometimes I use a brush, but a brush is hard to clean. So I like to use my little Ken and Barbie rake here and take it over, get some Dawn, rinse it out, and it's good to go for next time. Now let this stuff gel while we go over and remove the old brake pads. I'm going to take a look at those, see how bad they are. It looks like we're right at the edge. I mean, right, we use all that we should use before changing, probably a little more. And there you have it. Love my little rake. Okay, so let's go remove those old brake pads. Alright, so to show you guys how to tap these two pins out, I turned the caliper around and I put a towel over the dust and the hub so I don't scratch the caliper. Just a little tip. So what I'm going to do, I just have an Allen wrench small enough to go into the hole on the side here. They only go one way, so there's a little nub on this thing. Don't try and hit it that way or you're going to do some damage. There's a smaller hole, a bigger hole, and a smaller hole. You want to go in the smaller hole and just give it a little tap. It doesn't have to be an Allen key. It could be a punch, it could be anything. But you just tap it and it'll push the pin out. Alright, take two. Allen wrench didn't work. So I'm going to use this little, about a little over an 1/8 inch screwdriver that cut off and turned into a punch. And see if I can get a little bit more direct force. And try it again. This should never punch. Much more success. Kind of went in beside it though. Kind of be careful not to crack your housing. And let's try this one. See if we can get it to go. Alright, success yet again. Now I'll get some pliers and pull and twist these out. A little bit of surprise. Oh, and then it just starts coming out like a normal. Just twist and pull, huh? See if I can get one of these. At least one on camera. Come on, guys. At least one. Perfect. Well, that's all it takes. Once you take one, all the tension is removed. And the other one is easy. Well, look at that. Wonderful. And now we have the spring and we have the old brakes. And wow, these were worn beyond what you want. These are bad. These are really bad. So yeah, we needed the brake job. Okay. So I took the liberty of trying to clean it up a little bit while I have it out. And also, I cleaned the spring and those pins and put a little bit of lubricant on them, so it's easier to reinstall than it was to get them off. I think when I do the other side, it's going to be easier for me to get it off if I clean a little bit first, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Clean the other side before I try to take those pins out, and hopefully they'll slide a little easier. And I'm going to spray a little bit of that lubricant on there too. I use this, let's see if I can show you my lubricant that I use. It protects. I use this Supreme lubricant. I'll put a link in the description. If anybody wants this. If I can find it on Amazon. I don't even know if it's on Amazon. But if it is, I'll find it. And I'll give you guys a link to it if you want to use that. But I'm going to try and clean this up a bit. And I'll get back to you when I'm done. Alright, so I'm going to use the tool and the old pads to push the pistons all the way in for these new pads, because we're going to need all the room we can get as far down as these were worn. The new pads are going to need all the piston room they can get. So I'm going to depress these 4 pistons all the way down with this tool, and then we can install the new pads. Alright, it's all the way down. Take the tool out, take out the old pads, and there should be plenty of room in there now for the new pads. So let's go get them. Alright guys, sweet success. Got them both all the way down. I had to push in on that pin and try and line up with the hole and tap ever so gently on these little pins. Now you got to be super duper careful or you're going to chip your paint a little bit. I chipped mine a little tiny bit, and I don't see any way around it almost. It's real fiddly. So unless you use a rubber mallet or something. But anyway, I got this side done. We're going to put the rotor on, put the caliper back on. We're going to torque those 2 E16 bolts down to 110 Newton meters, 81 foot-pounds. So I'll do that, and then I'll do the other side, and we'll be done. Alright, a point worth noting. There are 3 asymmetrical alignment pins that hold this disc. This disc is heavy. It's like, I don't know how much it weighs, but it feels like it's 40 or 50 pounds. It's the heaviest disc I've ever touched. The only thing I've ever touched heavy was on a diesel truck semi, and they weren't discs, they were drums. So I lined mine up because they're not symmetrical. So I put the longest one, that's the farthest, on top, and that puts your screw holes on either side so they're easier to find. And these will hold this thing, this monster, for you once you get it up there. So then I line up my holes. Here's the top one here. I'm going to line up my hole with these so that once I get it on, it'll hold and I can get the screws in there to do it. So let's get that going now. But that's just kind of important so that you're not fighting it. You realize it has these pins and they're not symmetrical. You got to get the right one on top. So here's mine. Here's the top one, and here's the 2 screw holes. So I'm going to lift this puppy up. Oh, it's heavy. And I'm going to put it, better lift the bottom of this. Yeah. And put it on, line up with those pinholes. There we go. And then that lines everything else up. And if you hold it on the bottom, you can get your screws in. Okay, so we're on the driver's side now, and one important point I wanted to point out is this is the side that has the brake wear sensor on it, okay? And if you look at the way it's routed, you don't have to worry about this brake sensor until you're done installing the caliper. You put the brakes on, you put the disc on, you put everything back together. This will route around through this little slot and slide into the disc, the brake pad, after everything's assembled. Okay, so you don't have to fight it or risk damaging it by installing it prematurely. Just wait till everything else is done and then route it around, run it through this little slot, and slide it into your brake pad. Then we can go inside and reset the brake wear sensor, hopefully. Hopefully. I already tried once with the rears, but I think the system kind of senses that the fronts need to be changed too, so they won't let you reset it. I think that's what's wrong. I don't know, but I think that's the reason. But so far it has not allowed me to reset the rear brake wear sensor. So I'm going to try it again after we finish the fronts. Alright, so here's a quick note about the brake wear sensor. You see that little nubby on it, that little bump? That side needs to go towards the brake pad. Okay, there's a little bit of metal underneath that, and when it wears down to a certain level, that little nubby will touch the brake disc and the plastic will wear off and metal will show. How do I know? So you want to make sure this is not on backwards, facing away from the disc. You want the nubby installed on the pad facing the disc. So as it gets closer and closer, just like that, closer, it will wear and give you a warning. Here's the box where the brake wear sensor connects. Here's the new one, and this is how it routes. I'm just going to let it hang until I finish installing the brake discs. Okay. Two little clips under the bottom here that you pry up, and then the box opens. So you can change out the electrical connector. Alright guys, I think I found an easier way to install these pads on the driver's side. So I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to try to let you watch the whole process. And hopefully I'm right about this. So my new idea is to put the pin in before I even worry about the spring. Just put the first pin all the way through and have that holding the pads. Because with that loose, it's going to be a lot easier for me to get that first pin in. So first pin, no spring. Just pads and pin. And they should be loose enough for me to get the pin in the hole much easier than the other side. So get this lined up and just push it in the hole. There we go. So that was a piece of cake. So that was easy. Push the easy button. Little tap. Alright. So once that one's in, then there's a little recessed section of the shaft, okay, and that recessed section allows it to go in like so. So we're going to do that on both of the pins, but the first one, it's already in, so now I can put this spring in, and I can put the spring all the way in, and that recessed section will allow me to let the spring capture that shaft. Okay, that pin. So let me put this ring in now. And hopefully, if I'm not lying, I can get that spring on the recessed section shaft. And it looks like it's going, and it is on. Yay! Now, on the other side, now I can push down on this side and just keep the spring out of the way. Okay, push it all the way down, keep it out of the way until this shaft goes all the way through. So I'm going to put this shaft through. If I can get these pads to line up a little bit. Get the pad, just line up the pad and then push the spring down out of the way. That first side is definitely easier. So, and then it's a little fiddly until you get it to go in, and I think it's lined up. So I'm going to give it a tap and see what happens. Not yet. But yeah, this is just a little bit tricky. This was like a little bit tricky. You have to play with it. But once it's in, then you can put your caliper on. So, and then once the caliper is on, you can put your brake wear sensor in there, okay? Route it through here, put it in there, and make sure the lump, the little hump side, is facing the pad surface and the rotor surface. That way when it wears down and touches that sensor, it lets you know, up, you're reaching dangerous levels. Alright, so I'm going to fight this off camera, and then I'll show you when it's done. Wouldn't you know it, as soon as I turn the camera off, the pin went in. So there you have it. They're both in, and we're going to go ahead and put the caliper on. The two E16s, going to tighten those down. It's going to be mechanics torque on these. Here's our nice clean disc. And then finally, when we're done, we will put the brake wear sensor on. But for now, I'm going to take this bungee cord off so we can install this caliper. And we're going to be done. Go for a drive. So, let me see if I can get these lined up. Holes lined up. Keep this brake wear sensor out of the way so we don't damage it in the meantime. Okay, that's going on nicely. So we can get it on a little bit more. I think this actually goes on here, so that'll be nice. It'll help keep it out of the way. Go. And then just get this. And get one of these E16s to hold it for me, and then we'll torque it down. Alright, got those pins all the way in. This is how they should look. Once you get them all the way down, just about flush, and those will keep your pad secure in the caliper. Alright guys, this brake job is completed. We have our new brake wear sensor installed, facing the correct way towards the disc. This is the left side. This is the driver's side. Let's go on, look at the other side real quick. And then we'll put the tires on, flip it around, and see if we can now reset the warning inside on the car's computer. I think awesome sauce. Yes, here's the right side too. Look at those big, beautiful blue brake calipers and those big, beautiful red Carbotech brake pads. Hopefully they're going to last for a very long time. Well, there will be an update video on how these brake pads perform, but they look great, they went on great, they seem to fit well, and so we'll see. The break-in for these is just driving normal. It's not the usual go fast and slow down. You have to drive normal for like the first, I don't know, it's 500 miles, something like that. They'll tell you if you ever purchase these. But the break-in is different than normal brake pads. It's just drive nice. Don't speed, don't stop suddenly, just drive nice for a period of time, and they'll wear in really, really nice and last you for a long time. Okay, let's get inside and see if we can reset that computer. Okay, we're going to try it again. We're going to push the start button 3 times in rapid succession and see if we can reset this brake sensor. All right, we're in the mode. Service due. Now I'm going to hold this down on the left. Diagnosis mode activated. Brake pad wear sensor, yes. Hold, oh, what happened? Holding. Okay, brake fluid, we're not ready for that yet. Brake pad rears, okay, so let's hold this down. Reset possible, okay. Reset, yes, hold it down. And let's see what happens. Reset in progress. Still unsuccessful. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll have to figure this out. All right, so I don't know why it said unsuccessful because it did actually reset. I'll go ahead and scroll through the menus and you can see that the brake sensor option for reset is now gone. And the little wrench for service is now gone. So I'm not sure why it said unsuccessful. I know why I did it before when I tried it because the emergency brake was engaged. But I'll show you now that the menu is clear and I'll get in the car fresh and show you that it indeed reset. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get in the car and I can show you that it actually did reset. Get in and start the car. There's no service for just for the brake light. It's all good. All right, that's how you do it. Thanks for watching and have a good day.